Welcome to Fenway Park as we get ready for Game 3 of a 3-game series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Don Orsillo, as always joined by Jerry Remy. Welcome to Red Sox baseball. Well, so far, while the Red Sox pitching has struggled, the offense has not. And as part of our Honda Key matchup, some of the new guys getting it done for the Red Sox.
Well, that's the shame of it all right now, Don, the fact that the Red Sox are swinging the bat so well. In particular, a couple of guys, Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval. And you look at the month that Hanley's had, it's just incredible. 295 for an average, but 9 home runs and 20 RBIs. I mean, that's just fantastic for Ramirez, you know, in the cold weather in particular. And Pablo Sandoval has really heated up recently. In this series against Toronto, he's 6 for 7 in this series with a home run and 3 RBIs. So there's certainly no problem with the offense right now. It is, you know, it's going. They've got some guys, Napoli back in there tonight. It's lengthened out a little bit. They're scoring plenty of runs. You just got to get the pitching back on track.
Well, tonight, hoping that Rick Porcello can go deep into this game tonight to give the bullpen some of the night off. Porcello getting his 5th start of the year, 1-2, trying to get back to 500 individually. We're back with more from Fenway right after this. Amsterdam Vodka. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. Toyota's website for deals by Toyota.com. Digital Federal Credit Union, see what DCU can save you. Your local Subaru dealers. The Kia Sorento. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at Southwest.com. Welcome back to Fenway Park as we get ready for the finale of the 3-game series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. Welcome back inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Don Orsillo. Well, it has been no secret the Red Sox starters have not been going deep into games. As a result, the bullpen has been taxed and has led to several roster moves over the last few days. Well, there were 2 today, as it turns out. 2 additions to the Red Sox. Tommy Lane coming up, recalled from the Pawtucket Red Sox. Dalir Hinahosa, we saw a lot of during spring training, was also selected by the Red Sox to the Major League roster. One of the surprises, no doubt, Anthony Vivaro, designated for assignment. He pitched here last night, and Jackie Bradley Jr. lasts just 1 day with the Red Sox and goes back to Pawtucket. So the pitching problems continue as we send it down to field level and Adam Pellerin.
Well, Don, it's been well documented, and as you mentioned, the pitching issues for this team this year, dead last in ERA in all of baseball, including a starting rotation that has an ERA well over 6. They've all been inconsistent at one point or another, including Justin Masterson, but Masterson, who gets the start on Friday against the Yankees, with some pretty good outings the last couple times out, including 7 innings his last time out against the Baltimore Orioles. He's confident that this starting rotation can get it together, starting with Rick Porcello tonight.
I'll tell you one thing, you look at it, you get a dink shot here, and then you kind of leave one up in the zone and gets hit for a big one. And some of that's our own fault, and some of that's some good hitting by guys too, you know, this early in the season. But we're working hard and getting through it. You know, that's again why I can always go back to why I have so much confidence, is because of how hard each and every one of these individuals working here.
Middle innings in particular for Rick Porcello have been an issue this season. Just to illustrate that point, innings 1 through 4 for Porcello this year, a 2.81 ERA, innings 5 and 6, an ERA over 14. He'll look to correct that tonight in the series finale, Don.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. Going to be a little chilly tonight in Boston as we wrap up this series. The first pitch from Fenway is coming your way next. Wrapped up his warm-up tosses, making his way in from the pen with his battery-mate Ryan Hannigan as the Red Sox and Blue Jays ready to finish up this three-game series. As it's going to be a little bit chilly here tonight in Boston, it appears. The weather is brought to you by Benjamin Moore. 53 degrees to start the ball game. The breeze is in again tonight from right field at 6 miles per hour. And the forecast mostly cloudy for the remainder of the evening. And right now it is pretty much cloud covered above the stadium. The lights are on here at Fenway as we play early evening baseball. And Porcello trying to get back to the 500 mark, coming in at 1-2 into his outing here tonight. And the Red Sox trying to get their starting staff as a group back on track again. As last night, of course, just 2 2/3 innings for Clay Buchholz, and the bullpen could use some time off as Porcello and the Red Sox take the field tonight at Fenway. As they do, let's check out the Blue Jays starting lineup. It's brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. Devin Travis leading it off at second base, an impressive-looking rookie so far. Josh Donaldson at third base bats second with Jose Bautista. Got his 5th home run of the year here last night. He bats third with Edwin Encarnacion at first base. Kevin Pillar had a big night last night, and in the series, really, 5 for 8 as Michael Saunders starts in right. It is Dalton Pompey, started in the first game, starts in the third game in left field. Josh Tolley, who is R.A. Dickey's personal catcher, bats 8th, and Ryan Goins at shortstop batting 9th. Tonight's Red Sox starting pitcher presented by your local New England Audi dealers. Rick Porcello making his 5th start of the year, as mentioned, 1-2, a high 6.48 earned run average, 23 strikeouts to 8 walks, and opponents hitting at .277. A no decision last time out, allowing 4 runs in 6 innings. On 6 hits, he struck out 7 along the way.
The Red Sox defense is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. They are 5th in the American League with 12 errors in 21 games. Pablo Sandoval will be at third base. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. Dustin Pedroia at second. Mike Napoli, the first baseman. Left to right, Hanley Ramirez, Mookie Betts, and Brock Holt. And Brian Hannigan gets a start behind the plate, catching Porcello.
Umpire and crew, Adrian Johnson has a play call on the balls and strikes with Bill Miller, the crew chief, at first base. Adam Hamari at second base, and Doug Eddings, the umpire, at third. Well, some of our moments are on here, Jerry. Quite a few of them, as a matter of fact.
A lot of stuff on that.
More stuff.
Wow. A lot of stuff on that.
Then we head here into the first inning, and Devin Travis leads it off for the Blue Jays. First pitch of the ball game from Porcello, and it's in there for strike one. We're underway. Devin Travis sitting at .356 to begin the year. 6 homers and 19 runs batted in. It's crowded inside with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Take a look at the pitch arsenal for Rick Porcello. 57% fastballs, breaking balls at 33%. Changeups at 10% so far this season. 2 different types of fastballs, the cross seam and the 2-seam. And what Porcello hopes to do is get ground ball outs.
One-two pitch to Devin Travis. Not going to chase that. It evens at 2-2. Travis right now among rookies in the majors ranks first in average with a .356 average, first in RBIs with 19, first in hits with 26. Also leading in extra base hits with 12. So off to a fantastic start. That is high for ball 3. Josh Donaldson waiting on deck. This improved Blue Jays lineup lengthened out a little bit, as there's ball 4, and Porcello walks the first batter that he faces tonight. Well, don't miss out on any of the 1975 bobblehead games. Get tickets to the Carlton Fisk, Louis Tiant, and Fred Lidd bobblehead games for just $75. Visit RedSox.com. $75 for $75 to buy your tickets today.
I think about those bobbleheads too, Don, as they all look like they did in 1975.
Right.
Not now.
And Devin Travis at first base for Josh Donaldson. Throw to first, and back to the bag is Travis, diving back, and welcome sight to see Mike Napoli back over there tonight. Been sick the last couple of days out of the Red Sox lineup, but back in the lineup, and certainly a new do as well. He has cut off a lot of his moss. He did that the other night after the series in Baltimore. Swinging a foul tip. This is like the Mike Napoli of old when he was with Texas in Anaheim.
Yeah, I walked in the clubhouse this afternoon and I had to take a double take to check it out, because it's been a long time since we've seen Napoli with short hairs. And Bogart's also getting his stuff trimmed up today.
Travis at first, Josh Donaldson down on the count 0-1. Donaldson fouls it off. Hannigan 0-2.
Donaldson has never had a hit against Porcello. 0 for 8 in his career with a couple of strikeouts.
Last 14 games for Donaldson. He's hitting at .421. Able to get his 5th home run of the year here last night as part of the Blue Jays victory. And time call. Porcello taking a long time in between pitches. Donaldson down the right field line. This ball will make its way foul.
Well, the pressure obviously is mounted on the Red Sox pitching staff, in particular the starting pitchers, and they desperately need a good outing tonight from Porcello to try to get things going in the right direction.
Throw to first, and diving back to the bag safely is Travis.
And Travis looks like he gets stuck a little bit on the way back to first base. Early in the game, It's wet out there, and sometimes you don't get that slide that you would get later in the ball game. And just barely getting his fingertips back in.
For the first, and again relatively close over there.
One thing Porcello has, very quick feet for a right-handed pitcher, spinning and throwing to first base. It's back a little bit easier that time. Again, that hand going to the outfield side of the bag. We've mentioned that a lot, to stay as far away from the tag as possible.
Last pickoff for Porcello was back in 2013. Very deliberate first inning here for Porcello, dealing with his second batter of the game. His 0-2 pitch. And a swing and a miss. Donaldson does him a favor. Swings at a pitch out of the zone for strike three, one down.
Looked like a slider that time from Porcello. Starts an outside corner and just continues to break away from Donaldson. And very good pitch there by Porcello. Not much authority in that swing at all. Completely fooled was Donaldson.
One out, Travis at first base, and Jose Bautista the batter. Look out, fastball running in at 92 miles an hour. Well, one of the Blue Jays home runs last night belonging to Jose Bautista. Blast up over everything and left. Went off Craig Breslow, up over the pole and out of the yard. Breaking ball fools him in there for a strike, and it's 1-1.
What seems to me that one thing Porcello's trying to do early in this ball game is establish the inside part of the plate for him. He's thrown a couple of pitches inside early in the count. One hit of Bautista, then he comes back with a curveball.
Just a 167 average for Bautista to go along with those 5 home runs. A high strike call. Bautista doesn't like it at all.
Right at the top of the strike zone, and we've seen, I don't know if it's a trend on or if it's being brought back by umpires, but it seems like they're calling more high strikes this season than I can ever remember.
That's definitely the case, exception of the year that there was sort of an initiative. 1-2 pitch coming up here to Bautista. And a swing and a miss. Good pitch. Down and away that time. So Bautista strikes out back-to-back Ks for Porcello.
And once again going to the breaking ball. You can see it right here off the outside pot. Very similar to the pitch that he got Donaldson on. So they start him off inside, finish him off away.
2 down, a runner at first, and Edwin Encarnacion the batter. 188 average. 4 homers, 10 runs batted in for the Blue Jays first baseman. Tried to hold up. Did he go? No, says Bill Miller, first base umpire.
Not even close that time. But anytime that bat starts, they will check.
Good numbers for him against Porcello, including 3 RBIs coming into the game. Popped up, foul ground. Hannigan coming back as far as he can, but he won't have a play. It's up onto the screen. Now, tomorrow night at 9, the real-life NBA discussion of business and baseball featuring Jack Welch and John Henry teaches you how to build a team and win the game. Catch it on Business and Baseball tomorrow night at 9. There is John Henry here at the ballpark tonight at Fenway. Hoping for better results tonight than last night, as the Red Sox defeated by the Jays last night. After the Red Sox took game 1 of the series in walk-off fashion. On the outside corner. Encarnacion with good numbers here at Fenway Park dating back to 2012. Encarnacion with a .304 batting average at Fenway. And 7 multi-hit games of the last 9 that he's played here in Boston. What are the overall numbers for him in his career at Fenway? And a swing and a miss as Porcello ends up striking out the side after the leadoff walk. Red Sox are coming up. Sox coming up, and they'll deal with the Blue Jays starting pitcher, presented to you by your New England Nissan dealers. 5th start of the year for the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey, 0-2 with a 5.25 earned run average, 16 strikeouts, 13 walks, and opponents hitting at .230 against Dickey as Mookie Betts takes strike 1. How about this? 5 starts last year against the Red Sox. Dickey 4-0 with a nifty 2.23 earned run average, 31 strikeouts. Only 4 walks against the Red Sox.
And he throws that knuckleball hard, too. You saw the last one at 74 miles an hour.
On the ground and to his left. Nicely picked by Donaldson, who gets Mookie Betts at first base. This rangy play by the Blue Jays third baseman. Let's check out the Red Sox starting lineup. It's brought to you by your Eastern Hyundai dealers. Mookie Betts just led it off. He's the center fielder with Dustin Pedroia at second base. David Ortiz, the DH, with Hanley Ramirez in left field. Pablo Sandoval at third base. Mike Napoli at first base. Brock Holt in right with Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. And Ryan Hannigan doing the catching in all 3 games of this series against the Blue Jays. As Pedroia, the recipient of strike 1. 284 homers and 10 runs batted in for Pedroia. Dustin so far in the series 3 for 7 with an RBI and a couple of walks. Right down the middle and fouled back. Well, since 2012, Pedroia with a .339 average against the Blue Jays. Softly lined and caught. As running into foul ground to retrieve that was Josh Donaldson for the second out of the inning.
Tonight's Blue Jay defense is brought to you by DraftKings, 6th in the league. Josh Donaldson at third base. Ryan Goins, the shortstop. Devin Travis at second. Edwin Encarnacion at first. Left to right. Dalton Pompey, Kevin Pillar, and Michael Saunders. And Josh Tolley doing the catching for R.A. Dickey.
2 down here in the last of the first inning for David Ortiz. Red Sox DH hitting at .221. 4 homers and 10 runs batted in. Shift on here for Ortiz with Devin Travis ducking back to short right field. John Gibbons' squad taking the game last night, now 10-11. To left center and in for a base hit for Ortiz. So David aboard with a 2-out single. First base runner of the night for Boston.
David's always had good success against Dickey. 333 coming into the game with a couple of home runs, and that knuckleball did drop, but it stayed about thigh high, and you can see Ortiz taking it up the middle for the base hit. All kind of theories about hitting the knuckleball. Move close to the plate, move up in the box. If it's high, let it fly. Swing as hard as you can in case you hit it. I mean, it's I think everybody's got a different theory.
Now 2 down. Whatever Ortiz's theory is seems to work.
It's working, right, Don?
He's aboard at first base here for Hanley Ramirez. 295. Now 9 home runs, 20 runs batted in. Hanley Ramirez now tied for the league lead, along with Nelson Cruz in home runs, both with 9. Badly fooled on that pitch, and it's 1-1. Hanley's second in RBIs behind Nelson Cruz. Cruz has got 21. Hanley with 20 on the year. That'll bounce in. Picked on the backhand by Tolley. With a squibber foul at the plate, evens a count at 2-2.
And last night they wanted to go inside against Ramirez, and you'll see the ball stay away from Ramirez. Now, I'm not sure he was thinking about going to the opposite field, but he just wrapped it right around that foul pole for home run number 9 on the season.
And his 200th career home run. And a swing and a miss here. Strikes out R.A. Dickey through the first. We're through 1 without a score from Fenway. The new Scion TC. We want to have you tell us what vantage point you'd like to see, and we'll send Adam Pellerin and a camera to that part of the park. Text Sox 1 for the new seats in center field, Sox 2 for the right field deck, Sox 3 for the rooftop garden, or Sox 4, a location to be determined by myself and Jerry Remy. Text your answer to 536-536, and that could be absolutely anywhere.
Yeah, I got a couple ideas, though.
Yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to this. I saw Gary do this last night. He was in the Green Monster. Looked like a good time. I've actually been in the Green Monster before, so I'm glad that's not an option tonight because I want to see some of the new areas. I am a little concerned, however, about Sox 4.
Now, let me ask you this. Sox 3, that is not the rooftop of Boston Garden, right?
No, I don't believe so, Doug.
Okay,
no.
Just checking.
I think we're keeping it Fenway Park centric tonight.
Okay, all right, we'll keep it here.
Yeah, we'll keep it here. I don't know. I mean, that should factor into your decision, too, for Sox 4. So keep it here in the ballpark. Maybe Yawkey Way, that could be a possibility.
I am pleased to have this last option, though, this text Sox 4 thing. I'm excited about that.
I'm concerned about it. Yeah.
When do we have to give Adam an answer on that?
End of the third inning is what they're telling me. And look at this right now. We are at 59% letting us decide we're going to send Adam. I mean, we could send Adam to Cleveland if we wanted to,
right? Anywhere but Cleveland.
Kevin Pillar batting here, down 0-2. First batter that Porcello faces here in the second inning. And a liner down the left field line, and this is going to one-hop the wall. Hanley Ramirez plays it cleanly. Pillar headed to second base. He'll get there on the sliding double to begin things here in the second inning. First hit of the night for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, Pillar moves up in the lineup because he's been hot. 6 for his last 9 now as he gets a changeup right there from Porcello that stays inside, and he puts it off that left field wall. Played fairly well out there by Ramirez as it bounces against the wall, gets it back into second base, but not in time to get Pillar, who runs very well.
A runner at second to begin the second inning, and it brings up Michael Saunders. 143 average for the Blue Jays right fielder. So far 2 for 14. Began the year on the DL. Joe's bunt pulls back and takes ball 1. And his first hit in a Blue Jays uniform here last night. Had knee surgery in February and missed all of spring training. Did play in 9 rehab games at A-ball for the Blue Jays before joining the Jays this past week. Fouls it off, evens the count at 1-1. Now tune in to Red Sox Friday Night Fenway, presented by Budweiser, this Friday at 5:30. Be sure to visit the Baseball Tavern before every Red Sox game in May for a chance to be selected as the Budweiser Fan of the Game. Fans 21 and over can participate. Budweiser, brewed the hard way. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. There's a 1-1 to Michael Saunders. Framed there by Hannigan, but called the ball. Has had no success against Porcello in his career. Porcello has really slowed it down with men on base tonight. On the ground right side, to the backhand goes Napoli. Porcello will cover, and he gets there. And no, he didn't get there. He missed the bag, according to first base umpire Bill Miller. So it's first and third with nobody out. Farrell may be coming out to challenge this. We'll see.
Now, there was no argument from Porcello. Let's see what happens over at first base. It's going to be kind of a shuffle pass over to him from Napoli. Does he get the bag or does he not? It's tough to tell from that angle. This angle should give us maybe a better look. Well, if he did, he got the back side of it. Take another look there. Tough to tell, but there's going to be no appeal by the Red Sox to overturn that.
So first and third, nobody out. They charge the error to Porcello on the play. So an E1 there. And Dalton Pompey, the batter, Blue Jays left fielder. And Pompey gets hit with a pitch. This will load the bases with nobody out for the Blue Jays.
Well, he tried to snap off a breaking ball, held on to it too long, and gets a piece of Pompey. Pompey trying to get out of the way of that, did everything he possibly could, but still gets him. And now big time trouble. Bases loaded, nobody out.
No bases loaded, nobody out. Josh Thole, the batter, the catcher, making his first appearance of the series, has been the personal catcher for R.A. Dickey. And he'll take strike one. Got the arms out of the way, but it picks up the inside corner. 0 for 3 so far in the season for Thole. On the ground, softly foul, and it's 0-2. Seven for 34 in his career with the bases loaded. He's never had a grand slam. Bats with Pollard third base, Saunders at second base, and Pompey at first. Now a liner off the glove into left center field. Xander Bogaerts still goes to third, and at third out is Saunders. Run in though for the Blue Jays. They take a 1-0 lead. As Mookie Betts throws to third, and Saunders is thrown out there for the first out of the inning.
Well, it looked like Bogaerts was going to make a play on this line drive. He timed his lead perfectly, but the ball's just going to get up over his glove. Might have even hit his glove. Heads up play there by Mookie Betts in center field to go to third base and at least get one out. At third base on the force play.
The Blue Jays taking a 1-0 advantage here. Runners at first and second. Ryan Goins, the batter, and he'll take strike one. 94 in the fastball from Porcello. Goins at 269, no homers, and 4 runs batted in. Bats with Pompey at second, Thole at first base. Porcello had 3 strikeouts in the first inning after a leadoff walk to Travis through 18 first inning pitches. And into a bases loaded, nobody out jam here in the second. Now it's a run in, first and second with 1 out. Runner going towards third, and the throw is not in time. Went on his own as Thole remains at first base. He was not taking off, and Pompey steals third.
Yeah, no question about that, going on his own because the runner at first base did not go. Hannigan makes a good throw to third base. You see Sandoval looking at second to see if the runner was coming. He was, but he gets his hand in there before the tag. Hannigan upset. He had a wide open path to third base. He made a good throw, but Pompey just stole that one.
John Farrell thought about it again, was up on that top step, but gets the word that the call was correct again.
I don't even think that was out that close, that one.
So first and third with 1 out, and a count of 1-2 to Ryan Goins. Now Hannigan is going out to talk to Porcello. The Red Sox Foundation launched the Impact Awards, which provide the Red Sox fans in 5 New England states outside of Massachusetts with the opportunity to vote on their favorite local nonprofits to decide which organizations will be awarded grants totaling $75,000. Voting deadline dates vary by state. To cast your vote, visit redsox.com/impact. 1-2 pitch fouled back towards the press box and out of play. Blue Jays on top 1-0. Batting here in the second inning. Pompey now at third. Tolle at first. 1 out in the inning. In the dirt, gathered by Hannigan. Goins from his number 9 spot in the order last night for the Blue Jays, collecting 2 hits in the game. Goins pops it up foul, back and out of play.
Right there, Porcello elevating, trying to get the strikeout with that man at third base. Fastball at 93 miles an hour.
Blue Jays, of course, winning here last night 11-8. Rounded out 17 hits in last night's game. It's their third come from behind victory of the year. They were down 4-0 after 2 innings in last night's game. Goins reaching out, protecting the plate, fouling off another. We're no rookies when it comes to flavor. Hood Red Sox ice cream scores a home run every time.
Nice catch, leaning over and a little bobble, but then secured it.
8th pitch of the at bat coming up, and Goins fouls off another. His fastball up.
Tough at bat for Goins, the number 9 hitter in the lineup, making Porcello work very hard.
Goins batting now with Devin Travis waiting on deck. Already 37 pitches for Porcello with 1 out here in the second inning. Make it 38 now. Chop towards second base. Pedroia will tag second, throw to first for a much needed double play. So the Blue Jays do get a run in the second inning and take a 1-0 lead. Toyo Tires, the official tire of the Boston Red Sox. Whether you're taking your truck off-road, the kids to practice, or your sports car to its limits, there's a Toyo Tire for you. Visit toyotires.com to find a dealer. 1-0, the Blue Jays have the lead over the Red Sox. Pablo Sandoval leading it off. Sandoval has been starting to pick it up offensively, up to .329 his average. 2 homers and 11 runs batted in. Sandoval in the last 3 games, and he does have a 3-game hitting streak, 7 for 9 in the last 3 games. Last game of the Baltimore series, first 2 of this series against Toronto. And matched his season high with 4 hits on Tuesday, the most hits in a 9-inning game since he's had since 2013, of course, with the Giants. The other way, Pompey on the run to make the catch. It was slicing away from him, and he's able to make the grab.
And they were kind of shading him in that direction too, and Pompey, not all that deep, was fairly shallow out there, so enabled him to be able to make the play on this slice. You can see the ball slicing away from the left fielder, but Pompey has the speed to get over there and make the play.
Sandoval out number 1 of the second inning, and brings up Mike Napoli back in the Red Sox lineup. 169 average, 1 home run, 4 runs batted in. And Napoli takes strike 1 at the top of the zone. Red Sox right now in the midst of a 10-day, 9-game homestand, longest until late July. Red Sox 1-1 on the homestand so far, 5-4 at Fenway this season. Napoli hits a high fly ball out towards left center field, playable for Pilar. 2 down. And the Red Sox in the midst of this homestand as we check out the schedule. The remainder of the homestand includes the New York Yankees after an off day tomorrow in for 3, then Tampa Bay for 3 before the Red Sox will travel to Toronto, Oakland, and Seattle. Two down here for Brock Holt, getting the start in right field. Sounds like in the meantime it is going to be Holt and Nava sharing time out there in right field. John Farrell asked about it before the ball game, whether Alan Craig could see time out there as well, but it seems like this combination is working right now as a ball hits Holt and he'll head down to first base. The hit batsman with 2 down.
Again, that knuckleball, you just never know where it's going to go, and that time it almost acted like a curveball going down to the foot of Brock Holt.
So 2 down. The Red Sox have a base runner for Xander Bogaerts. 271 with a home run, 10 runs batted in. They have the 2 top teams in runs scored. Red Sox scoring 109 runs this season, second most in the majors, only to the Blue Jays, who have now scored 116 runs. So you know why they've been slugging it out in this series.
Yeah, so we had a game like last night, right?
Exactly. Took over 4 hours to play. And this one gets away off the glove of Tolley. Trying to get to second is going to be Brock Holt. He will be safe. Ball gets away. I just didn't realize he didn't have it in his glove, and Brock Holt able to take second base.
And that catcher's glove is so big, the catcher's trying to catch a knuckleball. Sometimes you don't know if they've got the ball or they don't have it. And that time totally bouncing off to his left and then bounces to throw to second base. Holt gets in a scoring position with 2 outs. Looks like he ran right into the leg of Travis, who was covering second base.
Totally charged with a pass ball, getting Holt to second base. Xander takes the strike. Thought he had ball 4, but called a strike. 18 games against Toronto in his career, and he's always done well. 347. A couple of home runs, 8 RBIs for Xander. Popped up right side of the infield. Encarnacion will take charge and put it away. The Red Sox retired in the second. Jays have a 1-0 lead through 2. Made in the USA from fine Italian fabrics, available at Men's Warehouse. It's on to the third inning back at Fenway. Blue Jays holding on to a 1-0 advantage, and here is Devin Travis, the top of the Blue Jays order. They'll take ball 1 from Rick Porcello. That was pitch 40 of the night already for Porcello. Travis, Donaldson, Batista scheduled to bat here for the Jays. Picks up the outside corner, 1-1. Fly ball center field. Mookie Betts going back, still going. He will make the catch in center field. Mookie Betts with a spectacular catch in center.
I didn't think there was any chance Mookie Betts was going to be able to make the play on that ball. He was playing very shallow, and the ball hit very well. Look where he's located. Playing him to the opposite field, and then right there goes straight back. The leap looks like it was a little bit of a snow cone at first, but he's able to hold on to it. That ball almost came out of the glove before he went down to the ground. What an athlete.
One down for Josh Donaldson. Also hit his head on the wall going down. A padded area out there in center field. Now, there's no doubt he can go back on a ball. That much we know now. As we learn the abilities of Mookie Betts, as he learns the ability of Mookie Betts. I was at second base and in Double-A last year at this time.
But a lot of work in his spring training and playing shallow and working on the ball over his head. And it certainly paid off here in the early going.
Donaldson taking, and it's a called strike. Donaldson didn't think so. Fly ball left center field, sending Ramirez and Betts back, and Hanley is going to make the catch. 2 down here in the 3rd inning. Betts was there as well as they communicated out there, but Hanley Ramirez makes the grab. 2 down. Here is Jose Bautista getting his second look at Rick Porcello tonight. A strikeout victim in the first. All 3 of Porcello's strikeouts coming in the 1st inning tonight. Boston-based daily fantasy company DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of your Boston Red Sox, is giving out $300 million in cash prizes. Enter promo code NESSON to play for free. 1-0 is going to be in there for a strike. 1-1. Strike called. And Bautista not happy at all as he spins out of the box. 1-2.
Johnson, the home plate umpire, not happy with Bautista either.
'50th pitch of the night for Porcello. And it is popped up left side foul ground. Sandoval and Bogarts, and Sandoval will make the catch that ends the inning. Porcello with a 1-2-3 inning. Little help from Mookie Betts out there at center field.
Not every day you see a knuckleball pitcher. In fact, it's not every season for most teams. It's not the case with the Red Sox, who have one in their division in the form of R.A. Dickey. R.A. Dickey's had some success against the Red Sox in the past, including last season, 4-0, 6-3 all time. I asked a couple of guys what their approach is against a knuckleball pitcher like R.A. Dickey. Asked Mookie Betts, asked Pablo Sandoval as well. They didn't really have a clear answer other than to try to see something early in the count and swing away. And Jerry, is that sort of the same theme that you've gotten from other players in the past?
Yeah, I have. I've heard that theory also. You know, get something early as they're trying to get a strike on you. Because it seems like there are certain guys that'll throw that knuckleball. It'll become even nastier once they get a couple of strikes on you. So it's like a get me over knuckleball, and you'll see a lot of guys at times swinging early in the count.
All right, Dickey, 40 years old. is 0-2 to Hannigan. He's going to be up high, 1-2. The year that he won the Cy Young Award, his last year with the New York Mets, he's 20-6 with a 2.73 earned run average. 33 starts that year for the Mets, and pitched in 233 2/3 innings. He is usually well up over 200. Last year, 215 2/3 for the Blue Jays, but 14-13. In fact, the identical record that he had in his first year with the Blue Jays, and in both years making 34 starts. Fouled off again by Hannigan, 1-2. Russell Martin, Dalton Pompey, and Michael Saunders of the Blue Jays are continuing Canada's proud tradition of producing Major League Baseball players. Visit Nesson on Twitter as Michaela Verna lists the Great White North's greatest baseball players of all time. This is a fly ball foul down the right field line, out of play. One-two pitch. Backed off there by Hannigan. Doesn't swing. 2-2. Top of the order, Mookie Betts, and then Dustin Pedroia. Trio anticipated here in the Red Sox third inning. To right center field, and that's going to get in for a base hit. And the full count goes to the fastball, and Hannigan is on it.
Now that's rare right there. That might be the first fastball that he's featured so far tonight. On the 3-2 count, there you see it, and Hannigan takes it into center field for the base hit. When Tim Wakefield was pitching for the Red Sox, a lot of times when he would lose the knuckleball a little bit, he had a tendency to go to the curveball quite a bit. R.A. Dickey, on the other hand, goes to the fastball.
Lead runner on here for the Red Sox. That is the second Boston hit of the game, and now Mookie Betts takes strike one.
Wakefield also threw the fastball too, but it seemed like every now and then he'd mix in that breaking ball, and that would surprise some people.
That's grounding out to third base in the first inning. Fly ball center field, sending Pilar back and over. Makes the catch as Hannigan stays at first base with now one down in the inning. Well, after this next inning, our Scion poll will come to an end. So running out of time here, we need your assistance as to where we should send our friend Adam Pellerin.
Well, let me write something down, Don, and see if you agree with where we should send him.
Okay. And it's someplace at the stadium, right?
Yes.
I think I've learned my fate here. 70%.
Yeah, it's looking like I love this. I think we should have this every night as a text Sox 4. Don and Jerry decide, because we get to decide very little on a daily basis. So this is exciting that we have some sort of decision-making power here.
Some type of power.
Yes.
Well, why does it have to do with me? This decision-making.
One pitch fouled off. Okay, I like your idea, Jerry. I think it's a good idea.
What do you think?
I think we should send him there.
I think he'd like that.
I think he'd like it. He's going to meet somebody famous. You want to meet somebody famous, Adam?
Yeah, well, I mean, I get to hang out with you guys every day.
Right. I think we should send you to the Legend Suite, and our good friend Louis Tiant is in there tonight.
Oh, all right, I could do that.
Okay,
yeah,
not so bad.
All right.
Not so bad.
My faith is restored in you two. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take care of you.
No, you do. I know.
Louis in there somewhere, and hopefully Adam Pellerin can find him.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to him too.
1-2 pitch to Dustin Pedroia with a runner at first. To right field. Saunders was deep and is going to drop in front of him. A little bobble out there. No further advance for Hannigan as he takes second on the single by Pedroia.
And that is now a 4-game hitting streak by Pedroia as he takes the line drive to the opposite field. A little bobble, as you mentioned, Don, out there, but really you could not advance on it. Hannigan going and making sure, first of all, the ball's not caught. Then he has to go to second base. And by the time he's done bobbling the ball, he's just barely around second. So he had to hold up there.
First inning, the Red Sox have had 2 hits. Runners at first and second, 1 out. And David Ortiz, who has a hit tonight, he singled in the first inning. Strike over the inside corner. Swinging a foul tip. And again at second base, Pedroia at first base, 1 down here in the Boston 3rd inning.
Now David Ortiz defeated the shift in his first at bat tonight by taking a line drive right about at that shortstop position. First at bat for David Ortiz. You see how they're lined up. Donaldson at shortstop. Going to shortstop, moving over to second base, and back deep in the outfield was Travis. Ortiz just taking that line drive to the opposite field, the other side of second base, to pick up the base hit.
Now Ortiz lifts a pop-up foul ground. Donaldson headed towards the seats, but no chance. Well back into the crowd. Single for Ryan Hannigan to begin the inning. Mookie Betts flied out to his counterpart in center. Then a single to right for Pedroia. First and second, 1 down. And a count of 1-2 to Big Papi. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming up.
That you don't see very often. That was a low knuckleball, one that almost stayed on the same plane. You know, Ortiz was pretty fortunate to foul that pitch off.
To right field, and this ball is going to fall. Hannigan had to wait. He's now coming around from third. Throw from right, and Saunders is cut off. Run scores, throw to third, and out there is Pedroia. So Hannigan does get in, and this game is tied 1-1.
A very strange throw. First of all, he's jammed as Ortiz, but he's able to muscle it into the outfield and pick up a base hit. The run's going to score. Now watch this throw. It goes directly down to the dirt, so it can be cut off by Encarnacion, and then they have plenty of time to get Pedroia at third base. I mean, on a normal throw, Pedroia would have been safe, but the throw from the outfield was so bad, they had no option but to cut it off.
So 2 down, Ortiz at first base. Playing in front of him right now is Encarnacion as Hanley Ramirez takes strike 1. Red Sox tie it up 1-1.
I mean, watch Ortiz with this throw coming in, had to jump over it. Nobody expected it in that direction.
So 2 hits tonight for Big Papi, just drove in a run. Game tied 1-1. Now Ramirez takes the strike, down 0-2. In the air to deep left field for Hanley Ramirez, and that ball is gone into the monster seats. A 2-run shot, his 10th of the year, and the Red Sox take a 3-1 lead.
Well, that is the first career home run that Hanley Ramirez has had off R.A. Dickey, and it was a bullet. I'm telling you, the ball just jumps off this guy's bat. Knuckleball staying right about belt high, and no doubt.
Ten home runs on the year, and the Red Sox now have a 3-1 lead.
That didn't take long at all, did it?
No, out of here in a blink of an eye as Ramirez with great power. Saw the 10 home runs for him. Most to start a season since David Ortiz in 2006. As a swing and a miss. Pablo Sandoval lined out to the left fielder Dalton Pompey in the second inning. Carve foul off to the left, out of play. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. To second, and Devin Travis is able to throw out Sandoval to end the inning. Hanley Ramirez, a 2-run shot. Red Sox lead it 3-1. By putting people and communities first, Eastern Bank helps make good things happen. Watch how good things are happening to local people at easternbank.com/goodthingshappen. A 3-1 Red Sox lead over the Blue Jays. A 2-run home run and his 10th of the year for Hanley Ramirez. Ties the most he's ever hit in a month, and last Red Sox player to do it in April, David Ortiz, back in 2006. Red Sox needing that as they lead it 3-1. They went into that bottom of the third inning trailing 1-0. So Porcello with a lead for the first time tonight. Encarnacion, Pilar, and Saunders to bat in the inning. Encarnacion fouls a fastball back. Encarnacion, a strikeout victim in the first inning, one of 3 for Porcello, and again they all came in that first inning. He's fresh off his first 1-2-3 inning of his outing. Swing and a miss, and for the second time tonight, Edwin Encarnacion is down by way of the K.
And both times by fastballs. This time it looks like a sinking fastball right here by Porcello. It does sink. That's more like the fastballs we're accustomed to seeing from him. That sinking fastball.
So one out here in the 4th inning, and it brings up Kevin Pilar. He doubled and scored the Blue Jays' only run. That's a fly ball out towards right center field. Mookie Betts handles out number 2 of the inning. Well, just one Nexium 24-hour a day gives you all day, all night protection from frequent heartburn. Go to Nexium24hour.com for savings and pick up Nexium 24-hour at your local Stop and Shop.
I need one of those right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
6 in a row retired by Porcello. 2 down here in the 4th. As Michael Saunders reached on an error committed by Porcello, covering the bag in the 2nd inning. Seven in a row retired by Porcello. Has 2 outs here in the 4th inning. In tight that time, and it's 2-1. Porcello with only 1 walk tonight. First batter that he faced of the game. Devin Travis walked in the first. Dalton Pompey on deck for the Jays. Saunders hits it on the ground to Pedroia at second base, and Porcello has now retired 8 batters in a row. Another 1-2-3 inning, 3-1 Boston. Eastern Bank, innovation doesn't just mean making life simpler. It means finding new technology that puts your needs first. See what's new at easternbank.com. Here, you're first. Eastern Bank. Bottom of the fourth inning, Mike Napoli, Brock Holt, Xander Bogaerts to face R.A. Dickey. Had to throw 31 pitches in the third inning. Gave up 3 runs. As Napoli takes a pitch, called the ball. Mike flying out to center field in the second inning, 0 for 1. Dickey giving up only 1 hit through the first 2 innings, ends up giving up 4 hits in the third, and the big blast to Ramirez.
For Dickey, that was the 5th home run he's given up this season.
Two and two. On the ground to shortstop, Ryan Goins. Throws out Napoli for the first out of the bottom of the fourth inning. Right now, Ace Ticket is having a flash sale on this weekend's Red Sox-Yankees series until 11 o'clock tonight only. Red Sox-Yankees tickets are starting at only $35, with box seats starting at just $59. Visit aceticket.com right now before they sell out. One down here in the fourth inning. Brock Holt with a big swing and a miss for strike 1. Holt hit by a pitch back in the second inning. Xander Bogaerts waiting on deck. Red Sox batting here in the fourth with 1 down. Opposite field, Pompey, as it's coming back to him, makes the catch, almost lost it in the light bank, but able to grab it for out number 2 of the inning. Tune in tonight after the game to NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. Al Duncan and Sarah Davis will continue the Patriots NFL Draft Series by focusing on available cornerbacks, and they'll have more of Jerry's conversation with Dustin Pedroia, see what know-how can do. Up and away for ball 1 to Xander Bogaerts. Xander popping out to the first baseman Encarnacion in the second inning. Towards third base, Donaldson plays the hop, a slow hop, but he gets it over there in plenty of time to retire Bogaerts. Well, Adam Pellerin will be headed to the Legend Suite when we come back. Us decided, Jerry, tonight to Tech Sox 4, so we decided to send Adam to the Legend Suite here at Fenway Park. And Adam, who did you find?
I found Bill Lee. How about that? You know, Louis Tion was here earlier.
Yeah, he had to leave.
He had to leave. Special assignment?
Well, he didn't want to talk to you. He wanted me to do all the interpretations of the 75 season.
So you're falling on the sword. You get to talk to me?
Yeah, no. This is good. No, I love it here. I love a Hannigan. I love a local kid behind the plate.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? You have a local kid playing for the Red Sox. Nothing better than that. Talk about meeting some of the people up here. This is the Legend Suite. You, of course, are a Red Sox legend. Talk about sharing your stories, sharing your experiences with people that come up here.
Well, they all know me, and they all love us, especially the 75 team. Most of them were kids when we played, and we have great stories. They know everything. We're all Juan Marichal fans, a lot of Giant fans, Willie McCovey, guys that played back in our era that were really great ball players.
Can I ask you a question, though? I know you played for the Expos at the tail end of your career, but why are you wearing the Expos jacket here tonight?
It's got my name on the back.
Oh, can we see that?
But it also says Le Lancer.
There you go. Right there. Okay.
It's my dad's jacket. I'm Le Lancer Gauche pour les Expos, le más mejor en todo el mundo.
Do you want to do the entire interview in French, or do you want just a portion of it?
That was half in French, half in Spanish.
So, guys, I found Bill Lee here in the Legend Suite. Not bad.
All right. Nicely done.
That was awesome.
Now, nicely done, Adam, as Dalton Pompey batting here with the count of 2-2. Pompey, Tolle, and Goins expected here against Porcello. He's now retired 8 batters in a row. And a swing and a miss. There is strikeout number 5 for Porcello.
And a strikeout high on the season for Porcello. 7 the last time out against the Baltimore Orioles. That was in 6 innings. Goes to the curveball that time to pick up the strikeout. I say Adam got out of that pretty well.
Yes, I think he did, actually.
He did, yes.
We've had Bill Lee on quite a bit over the years. And the conversation's not over just because the camera's not there anymore.
Bill Lee's got a lot of stories.
You played with Bill Lee?
Yep. Adam was a catcher, right? Maybe they're talking a little pitch catch.
Could be. Glancing off the glove of Porcello helps out here as the ricochet goes to Pedroia. So 1-4 to 3. Helped his own cause here. A lot of times when a pitcher gets a glove on it, it can affect things wrongly, but not this case.
No, this time it was rightly.
Rightly? Is wrongly a word?
It goes right to Pedroia at second base and they get the out. So.
You know what I was saying, though, right?
No, I know exactly.
If a pitcher gets a glove on it, he can mess it up.
Yeah, things end up bad usually.
It goes bad, and this went great because it went off his glove and right to Pedroia.
It went rightly.
Yeah, rightly instead of wrongly. 2 down, 10 in a row. Retired by Porcello as Goins takes the strike. Ryan Goins bouncing into a double play in the second inning. One pitch popped up foul, and it's 0-2. Yeah, wrongly is a word. I felt strongly about it. It's a word.
No, I think it worked perfectly in that situation.
All right.
I mean, when you got wrongly in your vocabulary, you just shoot it out there anytime you want.
Right. This one fouled back. Below us, still 0-2.
By design, they go upstairs that time. Hannigan wanting the high fastball. He gets the high fastball from Porcello, and Goins fouls it back. He did chase it, but he made contact and has another chance.
'70th pitch for Porcello is down low, and it's 1-2. Top of the order, Devin Travis waiting on deck. Here is the Blue Jays bat in the top of the 5th. Owens reaches out, grounds one to Sandoval at third base. A step or two, and he fires across to retire Goins. 11 in a row, retired by Rick Porcello. 3-1 Red Sox. Your low fare now at southwest.com. That's where I was going to send Gary last night. I thought Quincy Market might be nice to go by tonight.
See him strolling around down there. And hey, what's happening? What's up, dude?
Well, we play along here to the bottom of the 5th inning. 3-1 Red Sox have the lead. Ryan Hannigan leading it off here. He singled in the 3rd inning off R.A. Dickey. Came around to score the first Red Sox run of the night, driven in on a single by David Ortiz. Fouled off to the right, out of play.
Well, that single that Hannigan had was on a fastball, one of the very few fastballs that have been thrown tonight by Dickey. It was on a 3-2 count.
And Hannigan with a swing and a miss strikes out. Second strikeout for Dickey, his first since the 1st inning.
Knuckleball again. When you see that one go down for Dickey, it's his #1 pitch, and that's the knuckleball.
Pitching line for Dickey, brought to you by your Eastern Lexus dealers. 4 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 2 Ks. About to throw his 75th pitch. Trouble inning for him was the 3rd, and biggest trouble for him was Hanley Ramirez's 2-run shot. Now Mookie Betts takes strike 1.
Fastball lit a Betts.
Mookie has grounded out to third base and flied out to center. Rolls it over foul and is down 0-2. A great catch by Mookie Betts. Devin Travis, deep center field.
I don't know how he held on to that ball. I mean, look at it. It's coming out of the glove as he's going down.
Strike 3 to Betts. He knew it. Takes with him the 3rd K for R.A. Dickey. Back-to-back Ks now.
This knuckleball stays inside to Mookie Betts. A little break right at the end that picked up the inside corner.
1-2 down for Dustin Pedroia. He has fouled out to the third baseman and singled to right. As one of the 5 Boston hits on the night. Pedroia chops it up over Dickey's head and over the shoulder. He gathers and throws, but it's going to be late. And Pedroia's got his second hit of the night. Nice try there by R.A. Dickey. Had to go back up over the backside of the mound to retrieve that before firing to first base late.
Yeah, he actually did make a very nice play on that, because that's tough going down on the backside of the mound like that. Keeping your balance, makes an over-the-shoulder catch. In an awkward position, makes a throw to first base, but Pedroia hustling all the way is going to beat it out, but it's pretty impressive right there by Dickey.
Two down, Pedroia at first base gives David Ortiz a chance. David already 2 for 2 tonight. 2 singles, including an RBI single, his last time up to right. That was swing and a miss on a pitch darting down and in. Chopped into the shift right side, and from short it's Goins who steps in front and throws out Ortiz to end the inning. Through 5 from Fenway, it's 3-1 Boston. Free furniture and mattresses. If the Sox win the championship this season, it's all free. It's the Monster Repeat, and it's going on now. It's on to the 6th inning back at Fenway Park with the Red Sox on top 3-1. Rick Porcello, who has retired the last 11 Blue Jays in a row. His pitching line brought to you by Ace Ticket. 5 innings, just the 1 hit, 1 run, a walk, and 5 Ks. 71 pitches deep into his outing. The most pitches he's thrown in an outing is 104, and that was against in a no decision against Tampa Bay. This one fouled off down the right field line, out of play. Devon Travis hitting at .351, leading it off here in the 6th inning. He's led off an inning now 3 times in this game. A walk and a fly out to center. In there for strike 2. There is strike 3. Travis Newitt takes with him the 6th strikeout of the night for Porcello. 12 in a row retired.
Now fastball's away, as you can see. Then the curveball comes inside. It was supposed to be away, but it completely fooled Travis by picking up the inside corner. You can see Hennigan set up on the outside part of the plate. Ball stayed inside, but as we say a lot of times, not all mistakes are hit.
Big Insurance, great service, great coverage, and a great price for auto, home, or life insurance. Could you maybe tidy that up a little bit? Wrap it up a little shorter?
Whatever you say, Don.
Put a bow on it so I can read that.
You know, I didn't know you had to read. So I was trying to make something out of nothing. And you had a read to do.
Yes, I was waiting.
So now I look at you and give me this. Like, wrap it up.
Yeah, wrap it. Let's go.
Okay.
Bounce around.
Okay.
The 1-1 pitch. Miss for ball 2, 2-1.
Where you going?
Oh, just over here.
Get the camera here tonight.
The camera's back in the booth. Narachi got it back in here. And it's great that it's back.
But he's giving me this. Wrap it up.
He's giving it a wrap it up. Let's go.
I can't even analyze anything. Wrap it up.
This one is popped up. Foul ground. Napoli has got some room, perhaps. And he does. Makes the catch. Had more to go. Didn't really know where he was. But makes the grab on Donaldson. That's out number 2 of the inning.
I'm not going to say anything anymore because I don't want to get in the way of the reads.
2 down here in the 6th inning. And it brings up Jose Bautista.
That's how much Don likes the camera. He's gone.
This one foul back and below us.
Yeah, we don't. You can see a scorecard in there coming to the pitch.
Sorry.
He's way out of the way. He's on the other side of the booth now. And then I'll do the play-by-play. Wind up, pitch, fly ball, center field. Mookie Betts back. He's got a beat on it, and that's the end of the inning.
Nicely done. 1, 2, 3, go the Jays. It is 3-1 Red Sox. Donated $50 to the Claudia Fund, the charitable foundation of the Dropkick Murphys. The Red Sox recorded 181 hits, totaling $9,050. EchoStore Technologies has decided to go above and beyond and donate $12,500 to the Claudia Fund. Stay tuned later this week to see which charity EchoStore will be teaming up with in the month of May. To learn more, log on to echostore.com. EchoStore Technologies, your data center solutions provider.
What was that, like 2 chapters of a book?
So, yeah. Hanley leading it off here in the 6th inning. And he'll chop it towards third base. Donaldson is going to pick it in foul ground.
Now part 2 of that promo.
I think I got it all in.
Did you get it all?
Yeah, I did. It just took a little while. A couple pitches. Hanley Ramirez, Pablo Sandoval, Mike Napoli expected in the 6th. Ramirez has struck out tonight, and last time up, the big 2-run home run, which is the difference in the game right now. And a swing and a miss this time. R.A. Dickey with his 4th strikeout of the game, 1 down.
Yeah, that knuckleball had a little bit more movement on the one that than the one that Hanley hit out of the ballpark last time up. This ball dodged down and away from Ramirez. Good look at it from that angle there. You can see the movement on it, the lack of rotation at the seams of the baseball.
Pablo Sandoval 0 for 2 tonight, lining out to left and grounding out to second base. And he'll skip in for ball 2, 2-0. All right, Dickey, a loss last time out at Tampa Bay. Coming into this outing, 0-2 with a 5.25 earned run average, 5th start of the year. And trailing in the game 3-1, working here with 1 out in the 6th inning. Two and two. Napoli waiting on deck. Sandoval grounds it back towards Dickey, fields and throws for the 2nd out of the 6th inning. Well, Saturday on Dining Playbook, Billy and Jenny come to you from the newly renovated Stephanie's on Newbury Street. They explore the best places to get the latest dessert trend, donuts. Plus, Jenny checks out the new state-of-the-art fitness facility, The Club, by George Foreman III. Catch all that and more on Dining Playbook Saturday morning at 9. 2 outs here in the 6th inning. Mike Napoli 0 for 2 in the game. Napoli flying out to the center fielder Kevin Pillar in the 2nd. Grounded to short in the 4th. On the ground this time to 3rd. Donaldson gliding to his left. And R.A. Dickey enjoys a 1-2-3 6th inning. It's on to the 7th. 3-1 Boston. All season long, Geico will highlight the 1975 Red Sox in honor of their 40th anniversary in their 22nd game of the 75 season. Red Sox beat the Angels 4-1 in California. Rick Wise pitched a complete game, 3-hitter, walking 2 and striking out 7. Offensively, Rick Burleson 3 for 5 with a couple doubles, RBI and a run. Juan Beniquez singled, walked, and scored 2 runs. For California, 22-year-old second baseman Jerry Remy went hitless in 3 at-bats.
Yeah.
0 for 3.
What is zing me?
Yep, 0 for 3.
What is this like? Your night to...
I didn't write this. I'm just reading a lot.
Yeah.
But while the Red Sox did really well, you went 0 for 3.
Right.
0 for 3.
This collar is ridiculous.
What is going on with your collars over there?
I just want to just leave them up like this.
You should. It's a good look.
Yeah, like
it's a trend setting. I love it.
Yeah.
1-1 is fouled off. 1-2.
It must have been the first time I played against the Red Sox. 75. I was a rookie that year, so
yep,
that had to be.
Yes.
I bet you I was nervous that night.
I bet you were. That's why you went 0 for 3.
Rick Wise, the Owl Man.
Did you have trouble against Rick Wise?
I don't remember.
Apparently you did.
Did I?
0 for 3.
Well, that night, yeah. I don't think that's the only time I faced him.
Probably not. Edwin Encarnacion waiting on a 2-2. Will slap it down the right field line. It is falling fair, and over to play it is Holt. Off the box seats, Encarnacion, who had been 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, reaches here in the 7th. Membership has its privileges. Learn how you can join the most exclusive sports membership in Boston as a Red Sox season ticket holder. Call 617-226-6888. Email new season tickets at redsox.com or visit redsox.com/season tickets for more information. "14 in a row had been retired by Porcello prior to the base hit to right by Encarnacion. Now a pitch running in to Kevin Pillar. So it's been a while since Porcello has operated from the stretch. Last Blue Jay runner in the 2nd inning when he hit to Dalton Pompey. Swing and a miss, and it's 1-1.
Good sinking fastball that time for Porcello, trying to induce the ground ball double play.
On the ground towards short, softly hit to second for 1, on to first, no chance, as Pillar with too much speed able to get down that line. They do get the lead runner though at Encarnacion for the first out of the inning.
That's a good job by Bogarts not to rush that, because you got a guy like Pillar going down the line. The ball's not hit hard, and you just want to make sure you get that lead man in a close ball game. Pedroia tries some acrobatic stuff to try to get the double play, but no chance with his speed.
Now Porcello, wanting to talk to Hannigan, came halfway from the mound down to get him. Get immediate care without leaving the ballpark at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center First Aid Station behind Section 12 on the lower concourse. BIDMC is the official hospital of the Boston Red Sox. One out, one on. Michael Saunders, the batter. And a swing and a miss. Fastball right down the middle. Three runs, 6 hits, an error for Boston. A run, 2 hits. No errors for the Blue Jays. Up and away for a ball, 1-1. Well, John Farrell has a starter working here into the 7th inning. With 1 out in the top of the 7th and a runner at first. About to throw his 91st pitch, but a check at first base on Pilar.
3 steals on the season for Pilar, as you can see, has not been caught.
Strike call, and it's 1-2. Saunders didn't necessarily agree, and looking at the Amica pitch zone, appeared to be out.
Yeah, very generous strike that time for Porcello.
Up and away for ball 2, 2-2. Saunders reaching on an error committed by Porcello in the 2nd inning and then grounded out in the 4th. First action of the night in the pen or either side, and it's Shinichi Tozawa up for Boston. Runner goes, Saunders fouls it back. Pilar was off that time at first base. Don't miss Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union, Friday night at 6:30. Tom Eck and Steve Lyons will have all the latest news and bring you part 2 of Jerry's exclusive one-on-one with Dustin Pedroia. DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? 1 out, 1 on here in the 7th inning. Saunders takes that pitch inside, a pitch Porcello wanted badly.
Yeah, he wanted that real bad. He threw that 2-seamer that tries to come back to the inside corner, but not quite enough that time.
Runner goes. A fly ball to left field down the line, but foul. Pilar off again, and Saunders takes ball 4. So there's the first walk given up by Porcello since the 1st inning. It's time now for a game break, brought to you by Jordan's, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Here's Tom Caron. All right, Tom, thanks very much. So the Rays are now just a game back of the Yankees. They are 12-10. Yankees 13-9 on the year and be coming to Fenway Park next. Take on the Red Sox 3-game weekend series as Porcello bluffs off the backside of the mound. There are the standings beginning today. The Red Sox a game back of the Yankees as well. Game and a half back of the Yankees as well right now. On top right now, 3-1 with 1 out, and Blue Jays have 2 on. Here's a fly ball out to right center field. Mookie Betts moving over, makes the catch for the 2nd out. Pilar will tag and head for third base successfully with now 2 down in the inning. For every Red Sox game that goes into extra innings or the Sox get a save, CVS Pharmacy will make a donation to Boston Children's Hospital towards a $25,000 commitment once again this season. CVS Pharmacy, the official pharmacy of the Boston Red Sox. Runners at the corners, 2 down, and Josh Thole coming up. Thole reaching on a fielder's choice in the second inning. Picked up an RBI and then grounded out 1-4-3 in the 5th inning. In there for strike 1 to Thole. So he is 0 for 5 to begin this year with the Blue Jays. Started the year at AAA and was called up on the 23rd of April. His second start with R.A. Dickey this year. He was R.A. Dickey's every start catcher a year ago. Now Thole hits a fly ball to left field. Hanley Ramirez under it. And he makes the catch that ends the top of the 7th inning. So Porcello gives the Red Sox 7. 3-1 Boston. Book your low fare on Southwest.com. The exciting Scion TC. Your New England Ford dealers. Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. Thank you, New England, for 60 great years. And by Audi. Experience the new Audi A3 today. Brock Holt leading it off as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning with the Red Sox on top 3-1. Holt, Bogarts, and Hannigan scheduled to bat against R.A. Dickey. His 93rd pitch is outside. 1-2-3 6th inning. 3 of his 4 strikeouts have come over the last 2 innings. This going the other way is Brock Holt with a base hit into left. So Brock Holt on for the 2nd time tonight. Was hit by a pitch in the 2nd. Now a single here in the 7th.
Brock Holt had been 0 for 8 prior to that base hit. Inside out swing, picks up the line drive to the opposite field. The Red Sox have the all important leadoff man at first base here in the 7th inning. A couple more runs that look awfully nice at this stage of the game.
Lead runner on for the Red Sox. Just the 2nd time in 7 innings that lead runner has scored in the 3rd. As a throw over has Holt back to the bag. Blue Jays have action. Liam Hendricks warming in the pen. Xander Bogaerts 0 for 2. He's popped out to first and grounded out to third. Good long look down to Brian Butterfield. See if anything's on here with Holt at first and Bogarts at the plate. 2-0.
Imagine if they were to put something on here, it would be a straight out steal with the knuckleball pitcher out there. It's kind of tough to play hit and run with a guy like that. Butterfield giving the signals to both Holt and Bogarts. If they're going to do something, they may do it here on the 2-1 count. Dickey gets the ball at home plate fairly quickly, though.
One for one this year is Brock Holt in stolen bases. Bogarts to left field, down the line on the move is Pompey over by the seats, and that ball is going to be foul. Well, 3 rows out of his reach, and a fan with the glove making the grab down there.
Lefty too.
Bogarts batting now. Hannigan next, with nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Another check on Brock Holt. On the ground down the third baseline, it is a foul ball. Grabbed on the backhand by Donaldson, but indication foul. Well, the first 3,000 adult fans heading to McCoy Stadium on Friday to see the Paw Sox host Durham will receive a Paw Sox travel mug courtesy of Dunkin' Donuts and Nesson. Get your tickets at pawsox.com today. Liam Hendricks is not alone. Jeff Francis has joined him in the pen. 2-2 pitch fouled back, still 2-2. Leadoff single by Brock Holt to begin this, the bottom of the 7th inning. Red Sox now have collected 7 hits off R.A. Dickey in the game.
Bogarts came into the game a .545 hitter against R.A. Dickey, but 0 for 2 so far tonight, putting on a pretty good battle right here.
To center field and a base hit for Xander Bogarts. Brock Holt will take second base, and the first 2 Red Sox have reached here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Well, Bogarts continued to battle, and finally gets that line drive to head up the middle for the base hit on a ball that was running away from Bogarts. See how the Red Sox play this now. First and second, nobody out. Hannigan at the plate. See if they try to move 2 men in a scoring position.
Ryan Hannigan, a single in the 3rd. He struck out swinging in the 5th. And he was bunting, but he fouls it back.
Tough duty bunting the knuckleball. It really is. It's tough to hit. It's tough to bunt. Hannigan doing all he can, squaring around, had the proper mechanics there for the bunt. Barrel of the bat above the ball, but the ball just darted down on him.
Tries to bunt it again, and this is to first baseman Encarnacion. He looked at third and spins and fires to first to get Hannigan. First thought for Encarnacion was to try to go to third base to try to get Brock Holt. Realized he was not going to have a play there, and the sacrifice is complete.
Yeah, because the ball was bunted pretty hot, and it was a nice job by Hannigan to get that down. He thought he had a chance right there to go to third base. That ball's up around Hannigan's neck, but he still, because of the angle of the bat, gets it on the ground. And then all Encarnacion can do is go to first base to get the out. So golden opportunity here for the Red Sox.
The infield in all the way around for the Blue Jays, second and third. And Betts fouls it straight back. Mookie 0 for 3. He's grounded out to third base, flied out to center, and struck out looking his last time up. Season high in pitches for R.A. Dickey. Previous high had been 104. Ball and a strike to Betts. Tazawa getting ready for the top of the 8th inning. Rick Porcello in 7 innings, throwing 99 pitches. Betts will foul it off to the right out of play. Red Sox trying to cash in here on a second and third 1-out situation in the bottom of the 7th inning. With Holt at third and Bogaerts at second. That's into right field, a base hit. From third comes Holt. Bogaerts being waved around. The throw from Saunders is going to be in time. They're able to get Bogaerts at the plate, but a run is in, and the Red Sox take a 4-1 lead. Xander gets thrown out by Saunders as the Red Sox try to get 2 runs in that time.
It looked like they were going to do that, but Saunders made a nice play out there in right field. He charged the ball very well on the ground. Look at him come in and charge that ball, play it off to the side, and then make a good strong throw. Now that's aggressive base running by Bogaerts and Butterfield, but that's the way the Red Sox do it. They take chances on the bases. John Farrell's coming out. I don't know what the question might be. And they got to check out if he was blocking home plate that made Bogaerts slide around it and never tag it.
Supposed to wait until the arrival of the ball before he can block the plate.
Let me get another look and replay and see exactly where the catcher is. He is in the baseline right there. Let's see when he goes to catch the ball. The ball's definitely going to beat him there. Now, can Bogaerts get to the plate, or is it blocked? That's a close one. That's very close. That left foot looks to me to be in the direction of home plate to where it's not supposed to be, which caused Bogaerts to have to slide it around. He was going to be out by about 5 feet. And was out. Now the question was the catcher interfering with him?
The new blocking of the plate rules. And we'll see what the umpires think as they're on the headsets right now. Crew chief is Bill Miller, the first base umpire, who is there with the home plate umpire, Adrian Johnson.
One more look. Look at the left foot and see where it is. You can see this clearly to the side of the plate, which makes Bogaerts slide around. Now, the ball had beaten him. The question is, did he slide around him because the ball was beating him or because he was blocked from being home plate? I mean, if you don't have the ball, you're not supposed to be in that position. If you have the ball, that's a different story.
Here is the rule. Last one is what we're looking at here. Manager must use a challenge in order to review whether play at home plate included a violation of the rule governing home plate collisions and the blocking of home plate. Now, Bogaerts was not there yet when he had that leg out, and the ball appeared to be there when his leg was out. But he definitely took the tack that he did sliding-wise because he was blocking the plate. He went to the outside.
Yeah, I think so. There was really no opportunity to go in straight. This will be an interesting call. We haven't had many of these.
I can't think of another one we've had.
No, I think this might be the first one in 2 years.
And it's taken a long time as the umpires continue to talk it over.
I think they had some communication problems at first. And it sounds like they may be still having communication problems. Well, this might go the Red Sox way.
They are going to go into, apparently they're having communication problems, so they're going to go into the umpires' room to have this conversation.
I thought they were heading over to John Gibbons to tell him the bad news. One more look, and you can see where the foot is right now. It is blocking home plate. Does not have the baseball. The foot goes out again, does not have the baseball. Bogaerts has to go around, and then there's the tag. So they're going to have to go inside to review this, and we will have to kill time till they come back. I'm sure you could read a promo, Don. I mean, John Farrell's seen it up on the scoreboard a number of times, so he's saying, what's the question here? Why is there even a question? That would be a huge run.
Yes, it would. Red Sox do get a run out of that as Mookie Betts with the RBI single to right field. He ended up stopping at first with a throw going to the plate and did not advance as Bogaerts thrown out. The only question is, to totally block home plate there illegally, and we will find out as apparently some communication problems for the umpires on the outside headset, so they bring it inside to the umpires room where they can get on a landline perhaps.
Well, somebody didn't pay a telephone bill.
So remaining on the field, Doug Eddings, and R.A. Dickey continues to warm up here. There's a guy that is throwing a season high up over 100 pitches in this game right now, and having to wait as they check this situation out.
Yeah, the umpire's locker room is on the third base side now here at Fenway Park. It used to be the first base side many years ago, but it's changed. That's why you saw him going down the third base dugout, and Pete Walker, DeMarlo Hale looking for him to come back on the field.
The Red Sox, we get another look here at the play in question at the plate. You know, talking to a lot of catchers, there is some gray area there that a lot of catchers are not entirely sure of the rule.
Yeah.
We've talked to many catchers about this as far as when they can and cannot be blocking the plate. And it has been difficult for a lot of them to get their arms around it.
And a lot of base runners were concerned about it, too. Oh, we should have a decision here.
And he's still out. So
call him out.
Yep. Apparently well within his rights, and John Farrell disagrees.
And you can't argue that. You can't argue the result of a replay, so Farrell has to stay in the dugout.
My only thing, Jerry, is that, yes, he's blocking the plate, but Bogaerts isn't there yet.
No, the other thing, Bogaerts is out by about 5 feet.
Yeah. So Xander is indeed out. Two down here in the inning with Mookie Betts at first base and Dustin Pedroia coming up. Red Sox getting a run so far here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Pedroia tonight, 2 hits, both singles, single to right, single in the infield. For the first, and Mookie Betts crossing over to get back to the bag.
I would think that Betts has the green light here. If he thinks he can get a good jump, he's got the green light to steal.
Ground ball, second base. Travis will go to first, and that will end the inning as R.A. Dickey gets through 7. Red Sox add a run, take a 4-1 lead. Available at Men's Warehouse Friday at 6. Get caught up on the Yankees season thus far as they make their first appearance at Fenway in 2015 and hear from Eck and Steve Lyons about their experiences playing the Bronx Bombers. Now 4-1, Red Sox have the lead over the Toronto Blue Jays here as we head into the top of the 8th inning. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Kia. Junichi Tazawa in for his 11th appearance of the year, 1.86 earned run average, 10 strikeouts, a walk, and opponents hitting at 200 against Tazawa. Finished last night's game against Toronto going 2/3 of an inning, giving up a home run and had a strikeout. Now ground ball foul outside of first base.
Well, you see the pitch arsenal for Tazawa. Those changeups are really split-fingered fastballs from Tazawa, throwing in more curveballs than he has in the past. And of course, 59% fastballs. Actually, I thought the spread would be a little bigger than that with the fastball and the splitter.
Ryan Goins gets the arms out of the way. Takes a ball, 1-1. Goins has grounded into a double play and grounded out to third base. 0 for 2 from his number 9 spot in the order. Sandoval in on the grass at third base. Curveball that time in the dirt. Well, nice outing tonight for Rick Porcello, just when the Red Sox needed it. 7 innings, giving up 1 run on 2 hits.
Yeah, that was big time by Porcello tonight after the bullpen being taxed the way it's been, and to come out and throw a game like that, 1 run against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are a scoring machine, very impressive.
One stretch had retired 14 batters in a row. Fly ball right center. Mookie Betts coming in hard. Mookie will knock it off his glove and gather it, keeping Goins to a single. At first he thought he was going to be able to catch it. He cannot, and lucky to get a glove on it at all.
At first, when the ball went up, I thought he was going to be able to catch it too, but it just dies in center field. Liz Betts, he thought he had a read on it, but it bounces in front of him and then deflects off the glove. Holt goes down, but the runner does remain at first base.
Lead runner on here for the Blue Jays, Devin Travis. Travis with a walk back in the first inning, flied out to the warning track, and a great catch by Mookie Betts in the third, and then struck out looking in the 6th inning. One of the 6 strikeouts that Rick Porcello had tonight in his 7-inning effort. Porcello finished the night in 99 pitches through 7 innings. Two and 0. Josh Donaldson waiting on deck. Jays batting here in the 8th. They got their run back in the 2nd inning. Fouled off to the right, out of play. Red Sox have further action in their pen. Alexia Gondo. Diving back safely is Goins.
This has been the go-ahead combination when the Red Sox have the lead. Ogando, Tozawa, Uehara. I think Ogando up right now just in case Tozawa gets in any trouble here in the 8th inning.
Framed by Hannigan, but called a ball. Devin Travis came into the game hitting at .356, does not have a hit yet tonight. And a full count now. Remind you to stay tuned tonight following WB Mason's Extra Innings Live. A Red Sox final presented by Uno's. Tom Eck and Steve Lyons will have all the latest news and notes and look ahead to this weekend's matchup with the New York Yankees. It'll be Masterson and CC Sabathia in the first game. Wade Miley, Nathan Eovaldi in game 2. And Joe Kelly and Adam Warren in the finale. To right field, Holt started in, now goes back to reel it in for the first out of the 8th inning. Well, don't miss WB Mason Extra Innings Live right after the game. Tom Eck and Steve Lyons will have Red Sox reaction to this game, as well as an encore presentation of part 1 of Jerry's Sit Down with Dustin Pedroia. Whatever, whenever, wherever, who but WB Mason? One out, one on, and here's Josh Donaldson, 0 for 3 in the game tonight. Strikeout, a fly out, and a foul out. Starts him with a breaking ball. That gets over for strike 1. Zawa has 4 holds this season, tied for 5th among all American League pitchers. And leading Red Sox relievers in appearances. This is his 11th of the year as he backs off here. All 2 strikes. That one slapped foul to the backstop.
Tazawa unhappy with himself at the location of that pitch, and he's not getting the spots that Hannigan wants. Hannigan wanted to go down and away. Instead, Tazawa goes up and in. See Tazawa frustrated, saying, "Yep, my bad."
That'll bounce in, and a nice job by Hannigan to block it, keep it in front of him. No advance for Goins. And we got confirmation on the play that was reviewed at the plate that he was not illegally blocking the plate. And when he had the ball, he could block the plate because Bogaerts was out by about 5 feet. So he legally had the ball and could block the plate at the time the Bogaerts arrived, is what the umpires felt.
So having his foot out there meant nothing.
Right. 2-2 pitch is grounded softly back to the mound, and Tazawa, good play to fire to first base for the out as Goins takes second base, 2 down. This will bring up Bautista as Hannigan goes out to talk to Tazawa about how they're going to deal with Jose Bautista.
One thing I think that helped him make that call is it was really not close at home plate.
Right.
Had it been a closer play, I think you might have had a different outcome.
Bill Miller, the crew chief, Adrian Johnson making the call behind the plate. Bautista tonight 0 for 3. He struck out, fouled out, and flied out to center. Two for 9 in his career against Tazawa. Does have a home run. Red Sox adding a big run in the bottom of the 7th inning. Enjoy a 4-1 lead with 2 outs here in the 8th. Big swing and a miss for Bautista. 93 on the gas from Tazawa.
Bautista trying to put a couple of quick ones on the board there with that swing. And Tazawa, power against power right there.
Encarnacion on deck. Swing and a miss. He strikes out Bautista to end the top of the 8th inning. 4-1 Red Sox. For the bottom of the 8th inning, let's take a look at the Toyota play of the game. Mookie Betts out there in center field, tracking this baseball and making the grab, and then banging his head against the wall.
Look at all those Mookies out there. Look at them. That's a heck of a play right there. And look at the baseball. I mean, the baseball's not even in the pocket of the glove.
New pitcher is Jeff Francis into the game here for the Blue Jays after 7 innings tonight. From R.A. Dickey, who was on the hook, giving up 4 runs. Ortiz takes the strike. Numbers for Francis, 3rd appearance, 4.05 ERA, 9 Ks. Opponent sitting at 231 against Jeff Francis. Ortiz hits a high fly ball, short right field. Travis, the second baseman, calling in the shift, and he makes the catch for the first out of the bottom of the 8th inning. Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, Jeff Francis, the former starter, of course, member of the Colorado Rockies back in 2007, faced the Red Sox, was a 17-game winner that year, facing them in the World Series, made 34 starts that season for the Rockies. Last year, splitting time between the Reds, A's, and Yankees. Fouled it off to the right, out of play.
Oh, I think Hanley'd like to have that one back. Fastball about thigh high right down the middle of the plate.
We are up in the Red Sox pen. Right now a save situation. Francis taking too much time. R.A. Dickey going 7 innings, giving up 9 hits, 4 runs. Didn't walk anybody and struck out 4. Then give up a 2-run home run to Hanley Ramirez, his 10th of the year. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Ramirez. With Pablo Sandoval waiting on deck. And then if need be, Mike Napoli. On the outside corner, and Hanley doesn't like it. You can see why. That pitch not close.
That ball's way outside. Looks like an off-speed pitch, a changeup to the outside part of the plate.
Two down here in the 8th, and it brings up Pablo Sandoval, who takes strike 1.
Correct myself. That pitch to Hanley was a fastball, not a changeup. First pitch to Sandoval was a changeup.
Jeff Francis, 34 years old, Canadian born in Vancouver, resides in London, Ontario. Tigers used to have a Double-A team in London, the London Tigers. As a foul off to the right, not a play. Swing and a miss, and Jeff Francis has a 1-2-3-8. We head to the 9th. It's 4-1 Boston. Rick Porcello ends up going 7 innings, giving up just 1 run in his outing. Struck out the side in the first inning to kind of set the tone for his outing here tonight. And has a chance for his 2nd win of the year if the bullpen can help him out. Well, tonight's game summary is brought to you by Xfinity. Well, I told you about Porcello's numbers. R.A. Dickey, who's on the hook, ends up 4 earned runs in 7 innings. Red Sox getting a 2-run home run, the 10th of the year for Hanley Ramirez. David Ortiz also with a couple of hits, all part of this 4-1 Red Sox lead. Edwin Encarnacion leading it off here for the Blue Jays. And he'll take strike 1. Koji Uehara in for the 9th. His 7th appearance, 3 for 4 in save opportunities. 8 strikeouts, no walks in 5 1/3 innings. Encarnacion with a 1-for-3 night. He is 3 for 7 in his career against Uehara at .429. And that is just off the plate.
Goji trying to mix in the fastball there at 87 miles an hour.
Encarnacion out ahead of this, cranking it foul up into the luxury boxes. Uehara entering the game on Monday night in the 9th inning against these Blue Jays. Had a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Ended up getting the win as the Red Sox walked off with the victory in the bottom of the 9th inning. Game 1 of the series. Swing and a miss. Encarnacion strikes out for the first out of the 9th inning.
Now there's a surprise right there. Encarnacion did not expect the fastball in that situation. They've been scouting Uehara. They know he's been throwing mostly split-fingered fastballs, but the last couple of outings, more fastballs. That time at 88, he throws it by him.
1 down in the 9th inning, and a big out. Encarnacion is gone, and here's Kevin Pillar. Doubled in the 2nd, flied out in the 4th. Now a pop-up foul ground. Hannigan coming back, but he won't have a play. Well, Bob's Discount Furniture is going to bat for the Jimmy Fund once again. Bob will donate $1,000 to the Jimmy Fund for every game saved this season. Everybody saves at Bob's. Bob's Discount Furniture. Quality, choice, and value. Russell Martin coming out to pinch it here for Michael Saunders. 0-1 pitch. Swinging a foul tip, 0-2.
Another fastball, that time elevated at 87. So that's the high fastball. See if he goes back to the splitter down. Stays with the fastball away.
It's maybe more fastballs than we've seen in any outing so far for Uehara. He's only dealing with his 2nd batter. Here's a 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Porcello for 7. Tazawa for an inning. Now Uehara in the 9th.
They want the splitter away.
And a full count now to Pillar. Foul and out of play. We'll do it again. 3-2. Pillar 0 for 1 in his career against Uehara. We'll try the fastball away. And a swing and a foul tip for strike 3. It worked. Back-to-back strikeouts for Uehara. 2 down.
I have not put that on my scorecard yet this year. Back-to-back strikeouts for Uehara, and both on fastballs. Perfect location, keeping the ball away at 88 miles an hour. 2 strikeouts, both on fastballs this inning.
Now it is Russell Martin pinch hitting at 190. 3 homers and 12 runs batted in. He went around for strike 1. 1 for 2 against Uehara in his career. Saunders tonight had been 0 for 2 with a walk. And Saunders had been 0 for 7 in his career against Uehara. So they go with Russell Martin with 2 down in the 9th. A little bit high for ball 1. Foul back, 1-2. Two down in the 9th inning as Fenway stands as 1. They're going to try it again. The 1-2 pitch. Outside, 2-2. Strike 3 call, and the Red Sox win. Koji Uehara with a 1-2-3 9th inning, striking out all 3 Blue Jays batters, and the Red Sox win the series. Outstanding pitching from Rick Porcello, and Uehara back to being Koji. It is 4-1. The Red Sox win it tonight from Fenway.